Hi everyone, Kate is here and welcome to this new video. Today I'd like to go over one really controversial, but on the other hand, one of the most popular and most powerful marketing tools, pop-ups. But before I start, go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button below this video to not miss new, interesting and handy tutorials. So, some of you might think that pop-ups are kind of old-fashioned, really annoying, and serve only to the sales-oriented needs. And about a year ago, I would most likely agree with you. But what if I tell you that appropriately implemented pop-ups can be really effective to grow your website new subscribers, boost your sales, and increase the number of potential customers? Crocoblock JetPopup plugin is just the right tool for that. With it, you'll be able to build, customize, and style your pop-ups to fit your website and trigger them at the right moment with the right offer. Let's see how it works. So guys, once you install the JetPopup plugin to your website, you will find a new JetPopup section in the WordPress navigation menu on the left. If you hover on it, you'll see these options: open all pop-ups, add new pop-up, and go to the JetPopup library. So before we proceed with creating an actual pop-up from scratch, I'd like to quickly show you what do we have under the JetPopup library. Okay. Just so you know guys, all the pop-up presets that you see right here, and by the way there are like 120 plus of the pop-ups currently in the library, they all have been specifically designed to provide you with a simple but stylish and handy solution in case you don't want to spend lots of time on building the pop-ups from the very beginning. So, as you can see, here we have all the different categories that you can choose from. For example, holiday sale pop-ups. Here's the Halloween sale, Black Friday, or Cyber Monday, and so on. Okay, and let's take subscribe pop-ups. Here they are, with the subscription forms and nice looking designs as well. Or countdown pop-ups. There we go. Pretty nice ones, right? Oh, and by the way, don't forget to check out Julia's tutorial on how to set up the countdown timer widget. So, as you can see, here we have lots and lots of different presets to choose from. So don't hesitate to surf through the catalog and choose the one that fits your website the most. Also, right here, you can filter the presets by date, name, or popularity. And of course, you can preview each pop-up to see what it looks like on the actual page. So right now, let's try to install, let's say, this pop-up. For that, we can simply click on the install button, and here it asks us if we really want to create a new pop-up, and also it informs us that we'll be redirected to the pop-up editing page and a new template of this pop-up will be added to the all pop-ups list. Good, so let's click OK. There we go. We just got redirected to the Elementor page builder where we can easily customize the pop-up just the way we want and need. So for example, we can change the background image, so position default, no repeat, and cover. Also, I'd like to change the typography of this header. So let's choose the font, this one, size, let's make it 100, and change the margin and paddings as well. Right now, let's make it subscribe to get discount and change the typography settings here as well. So let's make it this one, update the margin, and I'll leave the percentage right here the same, but I'd like to change the style a little bit as well. So let's make the font the same as the previous one, update the margin. Okay, looking good. And right now, the subscribe widget. So let's change the placeholder first. Let it be enter your email. Now let's update the input background color to this one. Remove the color on focus and choose the font family the same as the previous ones and change the size to, let it be 15. Also, I'd like to make it uppercase as well. Good. And right now, I'd like to adjust the color of the button on hover. So let it be this one. Update the margin and padding. Good. So let's update the changes and preview the result. Not bad, right? So, as you can see, each and every item or element of the pop-up preset can be easily adjusted and styled to your preferences, which is super great actually. Okay, we just played with the style, but what about the pop-up settings? How can we make it appear on the correct page? How can we choose the animation effect? And how can we set up the open event? Don't worry guys, all these questions will be answered in just a few minutes. Let's try to build a brand new pop-up from scratch together and cover all the JetPopup functionalities as we go. But before we jump into the Elementor, let's take a look at the website that we're going to be using as an example. This is a simple single-page website for the beauty salon. Here's a small navigation menu so we can browse through some sections of the site, and over here is a nice little Contact Us button. So my idea is to create a pop-up with the contact form and attach it to this widget. This way we will shorten the length of the page and will add a little interactivity for the users. So let's go back to the dashboard, go to JetPopup and click on Add New Pop-up. Add the title, click Publish, and then add it with Elementor. Good. Guys, let me show you how we can create a new pop-up in another way as well. So we're back to the dashboard, go to JetPopup and click on All Pop-ups. Here we can see a list of already made pop-ups and 3 buttons at the top. Add New Pop-up. And as you can see, if I click on it, we get to the same pop-up creation page as before. Import pop-up. This option is good to use if you want to import a previously created pop-up from another website, for example. And pop-up layout, where you can choose one of the 6 presets that will fit your website the most. And then you can simply click on Create Pop-up button. I'll not be using preset layouts as I promised you to start from the very beginning. So let's go back to our Contact Us pop-up. Okay. First, let's quickly take a look at the JetPopup settings, just to have an understanding what options are available there. For that, let's click right here. So in the General tab, we can see 3 sections: General Settings, Settings, and Display Settings. General Settings is where we can find and change, if needed, the title and the status of the pop-up. Then Settings, here we can choose the animation effect that we'd like to use for our pop-up, set up the open event, decide whether we want the pop-up to appear only once, and enable or disable loading content with Ajax. I will return to these options a bit later once we are done building the pop-up itself, okay? And the third is Display Settings. Here we can set up the display conditions for the pop-up to appear on the correct page, include or exclude pages, page templates, or even post types. You can set up as many conditions as you need, test it out, mix and match to get the best result. Also, you can specify the roles for which the pop-up will be displayed, such as guest, administrator, editor, author, and so on. Now, in the Style tab, we can see 4 more options that come very handy as well. general styles, pop-up container, close button, and pop-up overlay. In general styles, you can set up Z index. The higher the number, the closer our pop-up will be to the top of the stacking order. Or, in other words, on the top of all other elements used on the page. Pop-up container. Here we can set up the size of our pop-up layout. Let's make it 700 pixels of width, and also let's enable custom height and set it up to 500 pixels. Good. Then here we can set the position, horizontal, vertical, and content position as well. Choose the background type for the container, classic or gradient, plain color or image, and I'll go for the image, and I'll choose this one. Okay. Also guys, please keep in mind that all these settings are fully responsive, so we can set them up for different devices and be sure that the pop-up is displayed and working properly not only for desktops, but smartphones and tablets as well. So for example, I want to change the size of the pop-up layout for the mobile devices. So I'll click right here and set the width to 100% and the height to 75%. Set the vertical position to center. And right here, I'd like to change the position for the background image. Okay, good. Also, we can adjust the settings of the container overlay to give the pop-up a stylish and very cool touch. So for example, let's add a background color. Let it be kind of brownish. Now we can play with the CSS filters a little bit. We can make it kind of blurry. It's especially visible on the images with complex textures. We can make it brighter or darker. Adjust the contrast, saturation, and hue. Also, we can set up a blend mode. Just as usual, here we can set the padding and margin, as well as the border radius. And over here you can choose the border type and box shadow if needed. Okay, moving on to the next section, close button. Here we can enable or disable close button, choose the icon from the library or upload personal SVG, set the icon positioning and change the style for normal mode and on hover too. Last but not the least, pop-up overlay. Here we can decide if we want to use an overlay or not. If yes, we can enable close on click option and set its styling as well. Okay, so we checked out our pop-up settings and styled it a little bit. Now, let me quickly add a few widgets to it. I'll make it simple, not to overload users with the info, but pretty comprehensive. Good. Now the pop-up is ready and we can go back to the pop-up settings to finish setting them up. So, animation. Here we have 13 animation effects to choose from. Move up, slide down, bounce out, horizontal flip, zoom in, and so on. So I'll probably go for the last one. Open event. Here we can select one of 6 events or kind of like triggers for the pop-up to appear. So for example, if I choose on the page load, here I'll need to set the open delay in seconds. If I go for open after an activity time, again, I'll need to specify the exact period of time before the pop-up appears. If I use page scrolled percentage, then I'll need to set scroll page progress. Also, I can make it appear on the exit intent or on a specific date and time selected. And the last option, custom selector click. It's a pretty cool one actually. Just to put it simply, we can specify the CSS class of the element on the page. So let's inspect this text in the header, for example. Good. And use this class as a trigger for the pop-up. So once the user clicks right here, the pop-up will appear. This way, you can attach the pop-up to any element on the page. Menu item, shopping cart icon, image, text, or anything else that you can even think of. And then you can make it appear with the right message at the right moment. Okay, show once. Here we can set the timeout caching depending on our needs, and here we can enable loading content with Ajax. Guys, I'll show you how these settings work on the front end just in a minute, because first we need to set up the display conditions. Click on Add Condition, choose Include, make the pop-up appear either on entire site, on the single, or on the archive page. I'll use it on the front page of my website. But if you feel the need to display the pop-up on other pages as well, simply add new conditions and set them up in just a few clicks. So let's save the changes and preview the results. Okay, let's click on the client service, and there we go. Here's the pop-up. Looks pretty nice and works just fine. But guys, if you remember, I wanted the pop-up to appear a bit differently. My idea was to attach it to this Contact Us button. So how can it be implemented? Really easy actually. Let's edit this page with Elementor. Select the button widget and proceed to the Advanced tab. Here, among all the different settings, you will find a JetPopup extension, where you can attach the pop-up to the widget and select the trigger type from the list. I'll use the click on the button, but you are totally welcome to check out other options as well. So let's update the changes and one more time proceed to the front end to see our pop-up in action. Okay, so as you can see, once I click on this button, the pop-up appears right away. And if you remember, we also adjusted the pop-up settings for different devices to make it responsive. So let's see how it looks like for tablets. Not that much difference, right? And let's view the smartphone mode too. Okay guys, here, instead of the button, I decided to place an icon near the menu and attached the same pop-up but with the click on widget trigger. And it looks just fine, right? Okay guys, now you know how pop-ups can be easily imported from the JetPopup Preset Library to your website. You also know how fast they can be configured with the proper animation and convenient trigger. And of course, you know how quickly they can be styled and customized to fit the website's uniform. Now, I want to show you a few more useful and very effective pop-up widgets. Here's the new Subscribe pop-up. I just added a headline widget to it, as well as the inline SVG widget for the Mailchimp image. And I already set up the pop-up settings as well as the display conditions. Right now, I'd like to go over two widgets that come along with the JetPopup plugin: Mailchimp widget and Pop-up Action Button widget. Let's start with the Mailchimp. Once we place it into our pop-up, we get to see an error message saying that we need to synchronize our Mailchimp account or add a new list. That's because we didn't set up the Mailchimp integration first. So, in order to do that, we need to go back to the dashboard, hover on Jet Plugins, and open JetPopup Settings. As you can see, right here we have only one field to fill out. We need to enter our Mailchimp API key right here and click on Sync button. And if you don't know where to get the API key, feel free to follow this link and find out all the necessary information. Once the Mailchimp account is synchronized, you will see an option to get merge fields. Click on this button. There we go. Here are the fields that just got pulled in from the Mailchimp. Good. Now we can save the changes and go back to the Elementor page builder. Okay, so let's update the changes right here. Refresh the page and okay, now we can see the widget's content and can customize it with no problems. So here in the settings, we can choose our Mailchimp audience from the list. We can also enable Use Redirect URL if needed and enter the URL right here. Then we can toggle the Close Popup on Success option on if we want to save our clients some time. So once the form is successfully submitted, the pop-up will be closed automatically. Now in the next tab, we can customize the fields of the form. The email field is added automatically by default, but underneath it there is an option to use additional fields. Let's toggle it on and add a few items. First, we need to enter the field merge tag. You can find it in your Mailchimp account under the audience fields and merge tags, or in the JetPopup settings under merge fields that we pulled in a minute ago. So I'll add two fields, one for the first name and another one for the last name. Okay, and in the next tab, we can customize the Submit button. We can change the text, adjust the size, and set the alignment. So, right now, let's add another widget to our pop-up, the Pop-up Action button. As you can see, it's pretty simple, but if you use it wisely, it will be a great helping hand. So here you can choose the type of action you want to be applied to the pop-up button. First, you can use it as a link in case you want to redirect the client from the pop-up to another page, for example. Then you can select Leave Page or Close Pop-up or Close All Pop-ups if your pop-up contains some info and after reading it can be closed. Also, you can select Close Pop-up Constantly or Close All Pop-ups Constantly options if you need the pop-up not to be shown again. Here, sure thing you can add the button text. For example, I'll use "No thank you, I don't want to see this offer anymore." And right here, you can add the button link if needed. Okay, right now, let's update the changes and check out this pop-up in action on the front end. Guys, I've set the open event on scroll, so right now let's scroll a bit down and there we go. Here's the pop-up. Let's fill out the form and hit subscribe button. Okay, cool. So the form has been successfully submitted and the pop-up just closed on success. Now let's refresh this page and try to click on the no thank you message. Okay. So as you can see, the pop-up doesn't appear anymore as I've chosen the Close Pop-up Constantly option. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Don't hesitate to ask your questions if you have some. Write in the comments down below. Share your ideas and cool suggestions on our GitHub page and join our friendly Facebook community. Cheers, guys!